What up, Jumzy here, and welcome back to another Dead by Daylight video. Today, I'm gonna be explaining my top 5 games that should be in Dead by Daylight. I hope you enjoy. On number 1, we have yet another Resident Evil game, Resident Evil 7 Biohazard.
Welcome to the family, son.
Now, not only do I think another Resident Evil chapter would be a great addition to DBD, especially if we look at the previous 2 Resident Evil chapters, which were some of the greatest DBD chapters, but I also feel like this game in particular would fit really well in DBD. To start off, we have the survivor for this chapter, which would probably be Ethan Winters, the protagonist who we play as, which is an obvious choice. However, it would be a little difficult since there aren't many moments throughout the game which actually physically shows how Ethan looks, making it a little bit more difficult for him to be a survivor. Another choice could be Zoe Baker, since she is also an important person in the game. However, she is mutated with the virus, albeit not a lot. And then you also have Mia Winters, which is also a very bad choice, since she is kind of, trying to kill Ethan, but I guess that's because of the virus. Then for the killer, I'd say Jack Baker would be the best option. The only difficult thing is that he doesn't have just one appearance throughout the game, but that's also not really a big problem. Margaret Baker could also be a good killer, solely because I feel like her power in the Resident Evil game could be implemented into DBD very well, with all the bugs and everything. And then for the map, we're obviously gonna go with the Baker house or farm, since it does not only have a hole instead of the stairs, but the map is also made in a way that you can somewhat easily escape a room when being chased, since Resident Evil is also a game in which you get chased. So with some little changes, I feel like this would be an amazing map, and if it's too small, they could even add some of the yard to it as well. On number 2, we have Sons of the Forest, which recently came out of early access with lots of new different changes and improvements. The reason why this game is on this list is because I love this game and I have well over 100 hours of playtime. However, this game was also in a recent satisfaction survey from Dead by Daylight. This made me really hyped, and it's also one of the reasons why I made this video. But in this list, it also said the forest with it, but in my opinion they should definitely choose to add Sons of the Forest in DBD instead of the forest, because the forest is not only way older, but there are no voice lines and there are not many characters, which will make it more difficult to design a chapter. This is mainly because Timmy and Megan are younger than 18, and I'm pretty sure Behavior won't add survivors under the age of 18, which is also why Yuichi is a grown adult instead of being a little kid like in the movies. Now the survivors are going to be difficult since there's a lot to choose from. The best options are either Timmy LeBlanc and Eric LeBlanc together, or Virginia Puffton and Kelvin together. Another option could also be Jack Holt, which is the protagonist who we play as in the game, but he isn't really anything too special, so I feel like the most people would want Virginia and Kelvin, and they might be the best options too, so I would go with them. For the killer, it is also a little difficult, but I don't think that mutants like Fingers, Twins or Puffies aren't a good choice as a killer, just because they're too generic. Jian Yu Zhang, or maybe even Edward or Barbara Puffton, could be a better choice. In my opinion, Jian Yu would be the best in either his normal human form or his mutated form, whatever fits best. It would be a little tough to think of a fun and good power that fits with him, but I feel like Behavior can think of something. Now I personally don't think this chapter should get a map, since the game is set on one big island, which can't really be a map in Dead by Daylight. You can, for example, merge some bunkers or caves together, but I feel like it would just be a mess and not really recognizable to Sons of the Forest players. Next up we have Escape the Backrooms, a game which I think would be an excellent addition to Dead by Daylight. Obviously, the Backrooms is a creepypasta that has absolutely taken over the internet, resulting in hundreds of videos and games about it. Because of this, it would be really smart to put it into Dead by Daylight as well, especially because it fits really well in my opinion. This game was actually another game that was in the satisfaction survey made by Behavior, so that means that we might actually see this license in DBD as well. For the survivor, I'm not too sure if there should even be a survivor. I mean, yeah, you could do the characters in hazmat suits you play as, but they don't really are a specific human. But regardless, it is an option, although I wouldn't mind just getting a killer and a map for this chapter. So for the killer, there are a lot of fun options, which makes me want this to be the first chapter with 2 killers. The Howler, which is an entity in level 0, the first level, is a good choice, but that's solely because he's probably the most familiar to people. The Skin Stealer might be better, because his power can actually do something cool in Dead by Daylight, such as mimicking other survivors, which is what the community already hoped and thought the Legion would be after its trailer. Another option could be the Party Goer, since they are also pretty well known, and their power might be something interesting. The Neighborhood Watch from the Suburbs level could be an option as well. However, it is not a very well known entity, and I'm not even sure if it really comes from the original Backrooms. However, it can be implemented well in Dead by Daylight, which is why I put him here as well. And then the last option, my personal favorite, the Clumps, which is really just a mutant from the forest honestly, but he's just really funny and iconic, so that's really it. Now for the map, this is a little tricky because most of the levels in Backrooms are either too boring and makes for unfun gameplay, or are too big. Now obviously the entity makes the maps according to memories, so they don't have to be perfect, but it does need to be fun to play in, so not just a map full of the same carpet, walls and ceiling everywhere. My idea is to merge multiple levels into one map and maybe even implement the feature of sub-level 0 or 0.1, where you have to no-clip in some parts to go into another part of the level. And maybe, this might be a little crazy, but maybe they can even add a new mode to DBD, which features the Backrooms. And then on number 4 we have Portal 2. This would be an insane chapter for Dead by Daylight, and I think a lot of people would love it. Now it will probably not happen, mainly because of the licensing rules of Valve. If you didn't know, Valve won't allow Behavior to lock any of their licenses behind the paywall, including skins. This is why Bill is completely free, and why you get his Christmas sweater for free as well. So this might be a little problem, because Behavior won't be able to make money off it, while it does cost a lot of money to make this chapter. However, we can still fantasize about it. I do think it would be better for this chapter to be from Portal 2, because it has so much more story and voice lines and even characters. So for the survivor, we obviously have Chell, that's pretty much a no-brainer, but I also think that I could think of some really fun perks for her. And as a skin, I think it would be cool to have the outfit from Portal 1, where she's fully covered in the orange jumpsuit, and the other skin from Portal 2, where she has partially undressed jumpsuit with a white shirt under it. These skins are very simple yet iconic. For the killer it might be a little difficult, because both GLaDOS and Wheatley in his evil form are pretty big and are technically the whole laboratory. However, this could be their power as well, so that they control the map for example. How this would work, on the other hand, I would not have a single clue. But I think GLaDOS would be a more iconic killer, while Wheatley would be more funny, especially if they could make Stephen Merchant, the voice actor of Wheatley, also voice Wheatley in Dead by Daylight. This obviously also goes for Ellen McLean, the voice actress of GLaDOS. And then as a map, pretty much the whole laboratory could fit. They could make a merge of multiple testing chambers or implement the old laboratory as well. Anything would really work, as long as it has fun and unique gameplay. And then the final game license in this video, we have Phasmophobia, one of my all-time favorites. This game is the third game on the satisfaction survey from Behavior, which actually also means that we might also see this game coming into DBD at some point. Now I feel like it would be amazing, especially since Phasmo is a very fun game and it is actually pretty well known amongst the horror game community. So as a survivor or survivors, I wouldn't know for sure. This is because there are quite some characters you can play as. But as of right now, Phasmophobia doesn't have a story. This means that all the characters are just nameless people who don't have voice lines. This will make it more difficult to actually make them survivors, but I still think they should be added. There are 8 different characters you can choose from in Phasmophobia, so they could make 1 or 2 survivors and make the other characters into skins for their respective gender, for example. For the killer, it's obviously going to be one of the ghosts in Phasmophobia, but which one? There are a lot of different ghosts, so finding one that could fit with the power into DBD could be a little difficult, and we technically already have a few. Spirit, Wraith, Oni, Ario and the twins. But I think the best option is the Mimic, because it mimics other ghosts, meaning in Dead by Daylight they could make it so that in some way it mimics other killers. Or maybe ghosts in Phasmophobia as well, which would then implement every single ghost of Phasmo into DBD instead of just one. Now for the map, it's going to be an interesting one. I would say I'd go with Tanglewood, just because it's the most iconic map, but it's obviously way too small. The prison map would also be really cool, because we don't have anything like that yet in Dead by Daylight, meaning it does not only implement a map of Phasmophobia, but also a whole new type. At last, Sunny Meadows could also be a good option, because it's quite large and the whole vibe it gives does really fit in DBD. However, we do have Midwich already, which would be pretty similar to Sunny Meadows layout wise. These were 5 games I'd love to see in Dead by Daylight. Make sure to let me know down below what you think should be added, and I hope to see you in the next one.